$421 million in personal liability debts. What does that mean? Does this include like a mortgage? Why would a man have $421 million against his own person as opposed to businesses? Unless he was in like pretty big financial trouble. Damn. Lots of mortgages on his properties? If it's all mortgages on like massive, like I want to see like liability to assets is what I'm curious about. Like liability is boring, right? Like I have over 150,000, 250,000, I think, in like liability. But like I also have 2 cars and a fucking house to show for it. Like it's, but yeah, we'll keep reading. Do you think Trump is a good businessman overall though? It doesn't seem to be the case. I don't know how reliable it is when you're talking about these sums of money, but it sounds like, this is a little bit crude, but it sounds as though he could have generated a lot more value by simply like investing in mutual funds with the amount of cash that he started with, rather than trying to invest in business on his own. But more importantly, if the early part of this article is true, or if the trend continues, it almost sounds like he basically sucks ass at business. He made a bit of money playing celebrity on like The Apprentice, and then he's using that to fund more business ventures that are all losing money, which is not a good meme. Or I mean, it's a good meme, but not a good business strategy. Trump lives a certain lifestyle that you might not be able to get simply through just like, that might be hard to measure net worth. In which case you'd say like, even if he would have made a little bit more in the market, it doesn't really matter because he has like, there's a slightly less tangible value to like his brand. The ironic part is if his brand is the only thing that's actually keeping him afloat because his businesses suck so much. That's kind of ironic. If you have a brand as a businessman, even though you suck as a businessman, but the brand as a businessman is allowing you to invest money in your failing businesses. There's got to be some kind of irony. Or anti-irony or something. Do you think it's worth it for liberals to push that he only paid $750 in tax me, even though we know carry forward losses exist in Thailand? The average American doesn't know dick all about tax law. Complaining about Trump only paying $750 or whatever because of carry forward losses, complaining about that is stupid as fuck in terms of tax law. But rhetorically, dude, they should be saying that shit every fucking day. That shit is fucking hilarious, and it plays well. Trump paid less in taxes than I did, but Trump constantly brags about how he's a billionaire, blah, 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 blah. I think that shit plays super well. Yeah, they should scream that shit from the rooftops. It's dumb if you know what you're talking about, but no Americans know anything about taxes, so it's effective. Biden's Twitter is doing a good job at capitalizing on it. How much did you pay in taxes? Head to Biden. Oh, wait, what is this? What a stupid website. This is really funny. God damn.
10 quick takeaways from the New York Times bombshell article on Trump's tax returns. Sunday night's New York Times article on Donald Trump's taxes has a great deal of content that will take time and additional supporting detail to digest fully. What's more, this article is apparently just the start, as the Times says it will be publishing follow-ups that go into greater depth on particular issues. All that said, however, the following 10 takeaways already appear clear. 1. Tax is the least of it. The article offers direct evidence of Trump's impending financial liability to unknown lenders and of pervasive conflicts of interest as president that are of grave national security concern. 2. Trump appears to be an absolutely terrible businessman. This is a man who netted $606 million over 19 years from 2000 to 2018 through The Apprentice, licensing and endorsements, and investments and businesses run by others, and yet has created enormous financial peril for himself by buying prestige business properties for high prices and then pouring cash into them without thereby generating positive net returns. Even with the cash infusions, his personally run businesses have continued to lose a great deal of money, even leaving aside depreciation deductions that might or might not be accompanied by actual declines in economic value. One therefore suspects that he is simply funding the negative cash flow, not creating new value that might pay off in the future. Even the enhanced revenues at some U.S. properties from their being used by lobbyists have failed to eliminate the pattern of losing a great deal. Meanwhile, perhaps to fund the ongoing cash infusions, he has been taking out loans and making one-time asset sales that imply a danger of simply running out of money soon if there is no turnaround. The $421 million in personal liability debts that the Times says are due soon add to the impression of an approaching risk of financial breakdown. However, beyond just the financial peril that he may be facing, the pattern looks like one of recklessly and improvidently burning through one's cash for as long as it lasts, rather than of investing prudently to create future value. As a matter of net worth, this is 3, Trump appears not to be rich despite his having inherited a large fortune. The impending financial liabilities and selling off of assets, plus taking out of loans to keep the cash flow, is only one reason for concluding that, as a matter of net worth, as distinct from, say, lifestyle, Trump does not appear to be rich. Consider that from 2000 to 2018, his net profit from assets, his own businesses, plus investments in businesses run by others, is only $4.2 million, the excess of his investment gains over his business losses. This is about
Wait, say that part. Hold on, say that one part again.
His own businesses plus investments in businesses run by others from 2000 to 2018 was only $4.2 million, which is excess of his investment gains over his business losses.
Hold on. Trump, from 2000 to 2018, over an 18-year time span, had a net profit of $4.2 million. What is the net profit to a McDonald's franchise owner? Isn't it in the ballpark of anywhere from $100,000 to $400,000? So this guy is making about as much as somebody that owns like a handful of McDonald's franchises. Sorry, okay. Jesus.
This is about $220,000 per year. Just as a very general ballpark comparison, if you were earning $220,000 per year from assets that offered, say, a regular 4% annual return, that would imply that you were worth only $5.5 million. To be sure, we have here A, a fluctuating asset pool rather than a fixed one, B, personal assets such as homes that yield untaxed consumption value rather than business profits, C, tax losses that may exceed economic losses, D, consistently money-losing assets that might nonetheless be saleable for positive amounts, whether due to their liquidation value or the view that they could make money if completely run, and possibly E, appreciating assets such as art or non-dividend paying stock that don't throw off current taxable income. So this is not by any means an actual computation of net value. Still, however, the point remains that someone with a lot of wealth generally ought to be earning large annual returns on it, at least over an extended period. Because we generally do not include human capital, i.e. personal earning potential, in net wealth computations, all this ignores the fact that, at least in the past, Trump has been able to make a lot of money from his name, along with his personal participation in ventures such as The Apprentice. This can be a true source of economic well-being, even if we exclude it from conventional wealth measures. However, his continued ability to keep doing this is unclear, reflecting not only the apparent decline of some of these income sources, but also his age. Number 4. There is nothing wrong in principle with using true economic losses to offset the tax that would otherwise be due on gains, but it isn't clever tax planning.
Thank you. True. There is nothing wrong with losses, but you would never brag that like, oh, I didn't pay any taxes last year. Really? How'd you avoid that? Well, I lost a fuck ton of money on my business. Like, oh, that's not clever. That's not a clever abuse of the tax code. That's just you not having to pay taxes because you're not making any fucking money. Sorry, okay, go.
You don't need to apologize.
Oh.
It's your stream.
Oh, well, thanks.
The late, great Martin Ginsburg, a famous tax lawyer and the spouse of the recently deceased Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, once jokingly described what he called the Herman tax shelter. The idea was that if you need, say, $1 million tax deduction, your fictional accountant Herman could say, "Give me $1 million. I'll steal it from you and go to a country where you can't reach me, and voila, you have $1 million theft loss." The joke was that it isn't actually beneficial to generate tax deductions by actually losing money. For example, if the tax rate that you face is 37%, losing $1 million that is fully deductible generates a tax saving of only $370,000. So you're still $630,000 behind from the loss after tax.
Yeah, okay. Real quick, I'm sorry. This is so basic, and I understand that, like, for some reason people don't understand this. I see people on LSF or Reddit in general, people will say this dumb shit all the time where they'll say, oh, the only reason that guy donated $1 million is to save money on taxes. This is just fucking stupid, okay? Losing money to have a percentage reduction on your taxes is never going to be better than just keeping the money and paying tax on it. This is why, like, if I were to say, like, hey, I'm going to give you $1 million, and you're like, yeah, really? And I'm like, yeah. And then you're like, well, hold on. If you give me $1 million, I'm going to have to pay like fucking 40% tax on it. How about you just don't give me anything at all? Oh, shit, dude. Sick loophole, bro. Oh, now you don't have to pay any taxes because you don't have the fucking money. It's so stupid when people say this.
For this reason, the key to effective tax shelter planning has always been to generate tax losses that substantially exceed true economic losses, which can happen legally under appropriate circumstances. Trump, therefore, was not doing himself any good insofar as he actually lost money that he then got to deduct.
So,
And that
so real quick, so to explain this, if there's somebody more tax savvy, they can answer in chat. The key to effective tax shelter planning has always been to generate tax losses that substantially exceed true economic losses, which can happen legally under appropriate circumstances. So I think, like, depreciation might be an example of this, where you purchase an asset and that asset depreciates, but I think you gain more economic value out of the depreciation and the usage and the consumption of that asset than you would have lost otherwise in a tax sense. I think would be like an example of that, of like clever tax planning, I think. So if somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, okay, go. So, like, as an example, let's say that I buy like a factory, okay? And let's say that this factory costs $1 million and I depreciate it over time, and eventually I get to write off that entire factory because the factory is all used up. We depreciate it to zero. I don't think you normally depreciate an asset that much, but let's say we do that. We depreciate it all the way to zero, and eventually over the course of 5 years, I write off $200K a year. Oh, I've depreciated my asset. While I've lost $1 million in a tax sense, I'm able to use that asset to generate more revenue for my business such that it offsets the tax loss. So the economic value of that $1 million in lost taxable and lost depreciation was exceeded by the revenue generated by the actual economic value of the asset. Okay, sorry, go.
Trump, therefore, was not doing himself any good insofar as he actually lost money that he then got to deduct. And the Times article notes that his tax losses substantially exceeded the amount of his depreciation deductions on business property. Trump famously said in 2016, I love depreciation, and while he might, given its legally authorizing deductions for supposed losses in the value of properties that may actually, so far as one knows, be gaining value the entire time. However, losses well in excess of depreciation deductions offer evidence, admittedly not definitive, of Herman tax shelter type results. A related point is that there is no tax abuse as such in using losses incurred in 1 year to offset taxable income earned in another year, if the tax system allows such use of the net operating losses. Suppose that taxpayer A earns zero in both year 1 and year 2, while taxpayer B has a $5 million loss in year 1 and a $5 million profit in year 2. They have both netted to zero net income over 2 years, ignoring the negative time value of B's having incurred losses before gains. So we shouldn't mind if, in full legal compliance with the rules, B manages to avoid paying any tax in year 2 because the loss carry forward offsets his net income for the year.
True.
We therefore should distinguish between A, Trump's losing so much money over the years, be it from bad luck, bad judgment, or incompetence, and B, his also taking a number of tax positions that, as I discuss next, appear to be questionable or even fraudulent. The real losses rightfully offset tax on the gains, insofar as using them in the way he did was legally permissible, and the adverse inferences to be drawn from them lie outside the tax system, although again, as per the fallacy in the Herman tax shelter, they do not reflect clever tax planning. 5. The ongoing IRS audit dispute regarding a $72.5 million loss deductions looks very bad for Trump. The Times article suggests that the key issue for most or all of this claimed loss is a worthless stock deduction from abandoning his interest in the disastrous Atlantic City casino venture. Many years ago, when I was in tax practice, I actually worked on this precise legal issue for a corporate client of my law firm, so I am quite familiar with it. When you own equity, such as Trump's partnership interests in the Atlantic City activity, that has lost enormous value, typically the equity constitutes a capital asset. If you sell it for an enormous loss, that is only a capital loss, and deduction of the loss is limited to the sum of A, net capital gains for the year, and B, $3,000. Disallowed losses are carried forward, but at $3,000 per year, they may be worth very little unless your income in future years includes large capital gains. But if the investment is utterly worthless and you abandon it for zero consideration, it becomes an ordinary loss, i.e., one that is not subject to the limits on deducting capital losses. Trump apparently did this with his Atlantic City partnership interests and claimed an ordinary loss that seems to have made up much or all of the $72.5 million. But he received back a 5% interest in the stock of the new entity. As the Times article rightly notes, this could establish that the entire abandonment loss claim was legally invalid. He would merely have sold his once valuable asset for a large capital loss, the use of which would be sharply restricted as described above. The Times noted that losing on this issue, as it appears he should, if the stated facts are accurate and relevantly complete, would cause him to owe the IRS about $100 million given interest on the prior refund. This leaves aside the possibility of civil or criminal tax penalties for claiming an abandonment loss despite receiving consideration back. The consulting fees that Trump's various foreign businesses paid to Ivanka Trump and others look potentially fraudulent. The Times article cites 20% consulting fees that foreign Trump businesses regularly deducted by reason of paying them to unnamed consultants. Some of these fees pertain to activities in which Trump's role as an investor was ostensibly entirely passive, meaning that he wasn't engaged in making any of the business decisions. Consulting fees also appear to have been paid to family members, such as Ivanka Trump. She got consulting fees with respect to businesses for which she simultaneously worked as an executive and thus as an employee. Based on what the article says, several different types of fraud may have been involved here. Fees paid to family members who did not provide services in return would be improper deductions. Fees paid to...
Real quick, so here is an example of an actual charity fraud, okay? Let's say that I want to pass money off to other people, and I don't... Well, wait, what is the tax part there? If I create a charitable organization, I donate that money to a charitable organization and write that off, and then that charitable organization pays out wages to family members or consulting fees to family members. I guess they would pay lower tax rates than if you would have just paid taxes on the money yourself and given it to them. But why wouldn't you just pay them directly? Can somebody tell me that? Can somebody explain how that is beneficial from a tax fraud? They would pay income tax, but at lower rates. Yeah, okay, so here, let's say that I want to tax fraud to Nathan. I create a charity, donate $1 million to charity. Nathan pays himself $50,000 a year out of that charity. He pays at a lower rate. Why, though, wouldn't I just pay Nathan myself and then write that off on my own income, and then he pays taxes on that?
Awesome.
Gift laws limit how much you can pay. Can't I just employ him? Well, maybe that would be looked at. Well, I mean, that would technically be lying too, right? I'm not talking about a gift. I'm just saying that say Nathan is my employee, but maybe that looks a lot more shady, so that's why people don't do it. Okay, sorry, go for it.
Fees paid to consultants who were employees might be properly deductible by the business as salary, but would potentially trigger 3.8% payroll tax liability by the recipient under the so-called Medicare payroll tax. Fees that were actually gifts to family members were not properly deductible and also may have generated gift tax liability on Trump's part that the mislabeling helped to conceal. 7. Other improper deductions that may have been claimed fraudulently. The Times article notes several different types of improper deductions for business expenses that appear to have been personal and hence not allowable under the federal income tax. An example is the more than $70,000 paid to hairstylists in relation to The Apprentice.
So for this, we looked this up earlier. I'm pretty sure you would be able to take a deduction here if you were doing like a crazy outfit or costume for a show. But if it's just like maintenance of your normal look, that is not allowable to write off. So let's say I did a cosplay of some crazy shit and it cost me like $3,000 for the outfit, the hair, the makeup, and all that. I'm 99% sure that I would be able to write that off as part of a business expense. But if I just wanted to go get like my hair done nice and like my beard shaved and all of that or whatever for a stream, that would not be allowed to be written off. That's just considered part of your ordinary like maintenance and upkeep as like a human being.
Let's see. An example is the more than $70,000 paid to hairstylists in relation to The Apprentice. Tax law is quite clear that such items cannot generally be deducted unless their use is limited exclusively to the business appearance itself. For example, suppose Trump paid $500 for TV makeup for an apprentice shoot and the makeup was washed off right afterwards. That likely would be deductible. However, the cost of a haircut generally cannot be deducted, even in part because one still has the haircut after the show is over. Similarly, people who need fancy business suits for meetings with clients or customers and who claim they would rather dress in t-shirts and jeans cannot deduct the suit's cost. Similarly, the Times article raises serious questions about deductions for a residential property, described by Eric Trump as the family compound, on the ground that it was an investment property being held for profit. The very year after the investment designation was made, Trump claimed a deduction for a charitable easement that precluded development of much of the property. Happening just a year later, and possibly foreseen, this would only add to the difficulty of establishing the requisite profit motive. A further instance of potential fraud relates to deducting legal fees that may have related to Trump's 2016 presidential campaign rather than to his business activities.
This has to do with money that was paid to Michael Cohen
Yeah.
to settle personal Trump matters. I think New York right now is holding charges against Trump that they're waiting to file once he's out of office for that. Okay, good.
This may even include the hush money payment to Stormy Daniels if it was improperly amalgamated with actual legal fees. Like the Times article itself, I am focusing here on federal income tax issues. However, state and local income tax liability in New York State and New York City is also an issue in many of the fact patterns described in the article, extending not just to amounts due, but to the owing of interest and penalties. 8. Trump appears to have used substantial foreign losses to offset tax that would otherwise have been due on domestic source income. This tax use of foreign losses is legally permissible under appropriate circumstances that may have been met here, but it raises an admittedly secondary issue about the effect of any overall foreign losses that he may have claimed with respect to his money-losing foreign operations on any foreign tax credits that he may have claimed on his U.S. tax returns. In 2017, for example, when he apparently voluntarily paid $750 in U.S. taxes, based, the Times says, on his deliberately not using all available tax credits, he and his companies paid more than $300,000 in foreign taxes to Panama, India, and the Philippines. These might ordinarily be creditable, but only to offset the U.S. tax that would otherwise have been due on net positive foreign source income. It would be worth checking whether his returns properly treated foreign tax credits in light of the foreign losses. 9. The 2013 Miss Universe pageant in Moscow raises troubling issues, albeit not tax-related, about the potential funneling of cash from a Putin associate to Trump. According to the Times article, Trump and NBC, who were 50% partners in his Miss Universe pageants, split $4.7 million of profits in 2013, whereas they lost $2 million in 2012 and $3.8 million in 2014. A key reason for the 2013 profit was that the Agarilov family, Russian billionaires closely tied to Putin, who later helped set up the 2016 Russia meeting about dirt on Hillary Clinton, paid in $12 million for the event and only took out $2 million. Perhaps the Agarilovs simply made a bad business investment, but it looks like it could also have been a way of funneling cash to Trump, albeit shared by NBC for other reasons. 10. There is an old saying that one can never detect tax fraud purely on the face of tax return, but this comes closer than usual. Even wholly fraudulent tax returns generally do not proclaim their fraudulence on their face. Trump returns presumably are no exception, and much of the evidence suggesting possible fraudulence was developed in the Times article through the use of other sources. Nonetheless, with that aid, the Times article makes a powerful initial case, clearly meriting investigation, that substantial tax fraud may have occurred.
Wow.
Wow.
Adam,
Yes,
what
sir.
was the name of your class?
Sex at work.
And what happened? What went wrong? I mean, it sounds like a pretty good thing to choose. Sex is always very good, right?
Well, I don't think sex is always very good, but I think that this course was a great course.
But if there is sex in the workplace, handle it with class. That was the point of
Correct.
view.
Or if you're dating
and
someone.
then the
from
different
family
routes
class.
in different situations.
I've never heard of classy sex in the workplace, that's all.
I just want to say I'm incredibly upset because I already know that the juiciest part of the Trump tax shit is not going to get brought up tonight because it's too complicated for the average American to fucking understand. But god damn, that tax fraud that Trump is accused of is some funny ass fucking meme shit. And it's fucking hilarious that he thinks he can get away with the type of write-off that he's doing to turn that capital loss into an ordinary one. Unless there's some like ultra crazy shit that I haven't seen or would ever read about. That's some funny fucking shit. But I don't think they're gonna harp on. I don't think they're gonna harp on tax specifics. But god damn, can you explain? Yeah, I can try really quickly too. So I guess so you guys know because no other YouTuber or Twitch streamer is gonna understand this because none of them know anything about taxes, or care to do any research about anything besides healthcare good and war bad. Okay. Okay. So real quick. Okay. This is funny meme shit. Okay. This is Kino. I don't actually know what that means. I just say it all the time. This is Kino meme shit. Okay. When you get paid money, generally there are buckets of income that it falls into called tax brackets. Okay. You get like up to 20%, 30%, 40%, whatever it is. Like you pay taxes on your thing. Okay. Now, what normally, if you get paid on a W-2, normally you're paying into the type of income this is called ordinary income. Did you hear about the mansion that he bought as business expense and they got a tax credit? Not available? Yeah, that's meme shit. I don't care. This is the real funny shit, okay? I think, unless I'm making this up, because I think, didn't he use this trick I'm about to talk about? I think he got a $75 million carry forward write-off, I think, related to this. I think. So this is some big meme shit. I think, right? Or am I making that number up? Was it 75 million? Or was that a number I used as a hypothetical? Regardless, W-2, when you get paid via W-2, okay, you are getting paid something called ordinary income. You could get paid 1099 as well. You're still paying ordinary income, right? Usually it's when you get paid wages for a job, or there might be other things. So you have other income, okay, called capital gains. So what is a capital gain? There's tax brackets for something called long-term capital gains tax. So basically, what that means is that, hold on, Trump has $420 million in personal debt. Doesn't matter. Don't care about that. That's not relevant. Nobody smart is going to talk about that. They'll probably talk about it for rhetoric, but that doesn't matter. The problem with Trump's personal debt is you don't know how much that debt is secured by assets. So for instance, I have six-figure debt right now because I have a house, right? I also have a six-figure asset. Like, okay, whoop-de-fucking-do. Talking about Trump's total debt is meaningless without knowing exactly how much he has in assets, which his taxes don't reveal, and the New York Times says just as much. Other people will harp on the millions in debt number. It doesn't really matter. I guess it might look good or whatever, but okay, don't care about it. Don't worry about that, okay? About his assets, unless more was leaked about his assets. This is why I think Trump is doing more than tax avoidance. It's from financial and evident property. It's one page from that year, but tells the story repeated year after year. The thing everyone reports the loss is that Trump has lost more than 7 million euros, but the interest stuff is the fixed asset value of the creditors over 1 year. Okay, I don't care about any of this. Don't care about this. The big point too is also Trump just sucks at business. Oh my god. Wait, did we ever talk about the Intercept? Did we ever talk about the Intercept fucking exposing their informant? Focus. Oh shit, I'm not focused at all. This was the one big fucky thing that I'm familiar with, okay? Sorry, Jesus Christ. When you get paid on a 1099 or W-2, you get paid an ordinary income, okay? Let's say I buy $1 million in Amazon stock, I sell it for $2 million, then what I have is I've got $1 million in something, assuming that I hold onto this for a long time, I pay a different type of tax on it, okay? It's called long-term capital gains, okay? These tax brackets are really, really good, okay? And it's something way different. It's outside of your ordinary income tax brackets. It's a totally different bucket of income, right? Now, typically, if I buy an asset and that asset loses value and I sell it, okay? Let's say I buy something for $1 million and I sell it for $500,000. What I have is a $500,000 tax deduction, but it only works against my capital income. Meaning if I make $1 million in ordinary income and I lose $500,000 in investment income, I can't write off that $500,000 loss on my ordinary income. that only applies to future capital gains. I can carry it forward year after year after year, but it only applies to my capital gains. It doesn't apply to my ordinary income. There's one exception to this, apparently, or there might be multiple exceptions, but one exception to this is if you walk away from capital and you declare it like a complete and total fucking loss, there's like a way that you can file that makes it so that you can take that loss and you can apply it, this capital loss, you can apply it up towards your ordinary income for a deduction there. Apparently, Trump had a big, was this an Atlantic property, that he wrote off as a total loss so that he could take that $72.5 million, put it towards his ordinary income, and he's used that carry forward loss for like years and years and years to not pay personal income tax on his ordinary income. But the thing is that after he called this business a total loss, when the business or whatever reformed, he got a 5% preference for stock in the new company. So was it actually a total loss? Apparently, this is the audit battle that he's been involved in with the IRS for so long. If he loses this battle, then he essentially has $72.5 million in taxable income that he hasn't paid taxes on for years, over a decade. I don't know how long it was. Meaning that he would have like a massive first of all, I'm pretty sure this would be tax evasion if this is what he's fighting the IRS over. And then he would also owe taxes on like all of this fucking unpaid income, which is a pretty funny meme. Also, apparently another huge takeaway was apparently Trump is just, he would owe over like 100 million. Yeah, maybe. Trump is like taking out loans and trying to liquidate like assets because he can't afford, apparently he can't afford shit. Maybe. It's hard to say, but yeah. The only thing I don't understand is the 5% preference thing. I don't know if it's the first opportunity to buy a stock. I don't actually know what that means. Stock preference. Preference shares, more commonly, are shares with stocks with dividends that are paid out. Oh, it's preferred stock or preference shares. I don't know exactly how these work, but I think it's like when the company makes profit or whatever, like people with preferred shares get paid out before like any common person. If there's like not enough money or some weird shit like that happens, I guess. Preferred shares are better than normal shares. But apparently Trump got 5%. I don't know if he got the option to buy preference shares or just got 5% of the company equity in preference shares, but there was something that he gained when the new company formed that made it seem like his prior capital investment wasn't a total loss. He got something for it after it went down. So it seems that he shouldn't have been able to carry that loss forward into his ordinary income. Think back to share classification. Bondholders get paid out first, then preferred, then your A, B holders. Yeah, sure. How did it take us until now to know all of this? I feel like normally we know when celebrities and such are getting fucked financially, because this is tax information. The New York Times got a hold of his taxes. Here's another hot take that's actually incredibly cold and boring. I had a nightmare last night. It was a really bad fucking nightmare. I walked into a bar for whatever reason. I think I was with a friend. There was some girl, and we walked into a bar or a restaurant. I don't remember what it was. People were eating, and it was a whole bunch of political people that were eating food. And it was like Ben Shapiro, Tim Pool, Steven Crowder, Donald Trump was there too. But I started talking to all of these people because I was curious at the table. Oh, and there were some left-leaning people too. I don't remember who though. I started talking to these people, and I was like, oh, like what are you doing? Blah blah blah. Like, don't you guys like hate each other? Aren't there like political disagreements? Blah blah. And they're all like, oh no, dude, like we're all like sock dems or whatever. Like we just like to like we get paid a ton of money to do shit. And I started asking them like all these questions, and I was like, Trump, like what do you think about like the border and shit? And he's like, yeah, man, it's fucked up, but like I do this shit because Republicans love it. And like everybody was giving these answers, and it was like the idea that every single person in politics was grifting is like still super ultra stuck in my head. I don't know if somebody broke into my house and incepted the idea into me, but it's like very uncomfortable now. And now when I watch like or think about any political content, all I can see is every single person grifting. Holy shit. And it makes me feel like a fucking loser as well. And now, because when I woke up, I immediately started to think of all of my conversations, and I felt like a loser. Because I don't know if you guys have watched me on the Austin shows, but one of the things I hate on the Austin shows is I don't like characters. Not because I don't think they're funny, but because I don't want to argue against a character, because I feel like an idiot. Like, everything you say is a meme. Why would I put up a legitimate argument against you? Like, I just look like a fool. And now I'm starting to wonder in every debate I've had, are these guys like actually like alt-righters? Are these guys actually like socialists? Are these guys actually like what? Like, I have no idea. Like, now it feels like I'm just being an idiot. Like, I'm out here like earnestly defending my opinions, getting like deplatformed, losing money. And everybody else is just like, when they turn their shit off at the end of the day, they like load up fucking Fortnite. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't give a fuck about any of these issues. They don't actually care. Like, they just want to make a ton of money and like, oh God. People that complain about, this isn't hot take. Complaining about taxes is stupid. Most people don't understand taxes, okay? Carry forward losses are fine. If you don't like taxes, you need to suggest a change. Crying about somebody paying little in taxes, crying about not knowing how carry forward losses work, nobody cares, okay? Fuck off. Tax avoidance is an A+ amazing thing. Everybody should be doing tax avoidance. Tax evasion is illegal, okay? Rhetorically, it might look good. If you guys want rhetoric, there are other streamers for that. I just try to talk about like the fact-based shit here. But do you still think corporate tax should be removed? I think so. Somebody might have given me an example for why corporate tax is good, which is to encourage corporate investment. But wages could be invested. No, I don't know. I don't like corporate taxes. Fuck. I have to see. I feel like that was one of the few things. I think when I looked it up, I think that was one of the few things that economists agreed. Like corporate taxes just suck. Or maybe they should exist, but they should be very, very, very low. We just need to increase like the personal tax rate. Also, wealth taxes, dumb, boring, stupid. Nobody likes wealth taxes. They don't work well. They suck ass. They suck shit. Increase personal brackets, okay? If you want to do a VAT, you can go for it. I don't think I've ever heard... we tried to look into VATs before. I didn't hear a compelling argument for a VAT over just like a normal sales tax. It's all consumption shit. How much tax avoidance can a working class person do versus an upper class person? Probably almost nothing. Honestly, if you get paid on a W-2, there's not really much you can do for optimal tax shit. Your most important 2 tax avoidance strategies as a working middle class or lower class person. Number 1 is your tax preferred IRAs. So traditional or Roth IRA. I think if you're a low income earner, I think you'd probably prefer to invest in a Roth IRA. Wait, is that taxes now, free income later, or is that free income? I always mix up Roth or traditional IRAs. Roth IRA if you're poor, probably, because a Roth IRA is going to grow tax-free and you pay taxes now. Hopefully your income is higher in the future than it is now. So you want to pay now when you are, you want to pay the tax now when you're looking. So tax preferred accounts like IRAs are good, and 401ks, very, very, very good. 401ks, IRAs are your best bets. If you are working as a middle class, lower class person, and you're not getting your company match for a 401k, or you're not investing in Roth IRAs, you're fucking up. Thoughts on a 1031 for real estate? Is that if you sell in a property, you can like roll over? This is the 1031 exchange shit that Dan talks about all the time. Real estate is complicated, okay? Typically, things like this work to encourage people to continue investing money. Typically, for an economy to work, you want to increase the velocity of money. You want money flowing through the economy. You don't want people hoarding it. So, I don't know. Thoughts on percentage of salary that goes into your Roth IRA per month? Well, I mean, your Roth IRA maxes out at like, is it like $5,000 a year? Roth IRA maximum contribution, it might be higher now. It's $5,900? $6,000. So, yeah, max that shit out. That's some good ass shit. Thoughts on the HSAs being triple tax advantage? How is it triple tax advantaged? Is it like money goes in without paying taxes on it? Money can be spent without taxes? How do you get triple tax advantaged? Are you like tenant? Are you getting taxes from the future or something? Can you explain carrying forward losses? Sure. Okay, here, understand this. Please, for the love of God. I know that I make a tiny bit of difference on the internet. I do try. Your emails actually encourage me so much. I've thought a lot about like the emails I get. I'll keep doing what I do, even though it feels like I'm screaming into the abyss sometimes. Carry forward losses are very, very, very good. You want carry forward losses, okay? Is a Roth IRA worth it when you don't get matches? Yes. You do not need matches for a Roth IRA. Let me explain real quick Roth IRAs, okay? Let's say right now I'm making $20,000 a year, okay? What I can do is I can put some money into an account, okay? Into a Roth IRA. This is a tax-sheltered account. What does that mean? Well, at $20,000, my tax bracket, I'm totally making these numbers up. I don't know particularly where they are, might be 15%. When I put the money in at $1,000, this money will grow and grow and grow and grow. When I get to the future, okay, and I withdraw all the Roth IRA contributions I've made, maybe in the future, maybe I'm making like $80,000 a year, okay? And maybe I'm getting money back from like other investments or whatever, right? But when I go to withdraw this money from my Roth IRA, my all of this money, let's say that these thousands and thousands of dollars grow into like $1 million, okay? You don't have to pay taxes on the appreciation of this asset as long as the money that went into it was already taxed, which is the point of a Roth IRA. So you essentially have an investment that can grow tax-free, and when you make this withdrawing, with this withdrawal in retirement, you get it, and that's your money. Boom. That's crazy. Explain what happens in a non-taxed account. Well, in a non-taxed account, when you take this $1,000, well, you're going to deposit more. Let's say we deposit for a lifetime of, we'll say $250,000, right? When you withdraw this $250,000 in retirement, if you were to theoretically just take it all out at once, this $750,000 is going to be subjected to a capital gains tax up to 506,000. It's like 15%. And then up to the next, I don't know what the next bucket is. It might be 20%. But like on this $750,000, you might be paying, boom, there's 150 grand gone, right? That would be 20%. But yeah. Not capital gains regulating. Wait. Oh, actually, wait, hold on. For IRA, for Protero, is it ordinary income? Wouldn't it be capital gains because it's long term if it's an investment? As long as you've had it for over a year, Protero? When you deposit the 1,000, though, it's taxed, right? So it's $850 in this example. Well, you pay taxes on the money. So like it would go on your tax return as like income, yeah. Hi, Destiny. Genuine question. How does increasing brackets increase taxes on extremely wealthy people when all of the wealth is tied up in net worth and not annual income? Could they not increase each? Okay. The problem is, how does it grow from 1,000 to 100K? Because it grows because, wait, I might just dump 6K a year into a Roth IRA. Roth IRA is a ungodly, unfairly OP, okay? Here, imagine this. Imagine you go into a game, okay? Imagine you're playing an MMO. Imagine there are 6 training grounds, okay? And you can level up as much as you want, except in one room, you can only go into that room 1 time per week, right? That's probably the best fucking room, okay? That's probably like an OP fucking training room. You want to get your best fucking gear, your highest XP bonus shit, your whatever. That's probably going to be the shit room. You want to run that room every fucking week. It's just insanely OP, right? It's limited. So for your Roth IRAs, the same thing. Roth IRAs are such tax-advantaged investments that, one, you can't invest in them after you make a certain amount of money. It's pretty low, too, like 100K, and it starts to taper off. And two, even for poor people, $6,000 a year is your capped like investment, which is a relatively low amount of money. $6,000 is the most. That's so tax-advantaged. Yeah. If you want to get fancy, you can do a traditional IRA, and then at the end of the year, you can convert the traditional IRA into a Roth IRA called a backdoor IRA to exceed the income limits, but that's a little bit more complicated, not related here. But Roth IRAs are no-brainer, awesome retirement accounts that every person should be investing in. They're just so good. Yeah, you can. Yeah, if you're over the income limits for a Roth IRA, you can invest a ton into a traditional IRA, and then at the end of the year, I don't remember the exact process, but at the end of the year, you can roll over a traditional IRA into a Roth IRA, and then it's called a backdoor IRA if you want to do that shit. But it's something different. Is it fair that someone as rich as Trump is paying as little as taxes? Sure. Here we go. Listen to me on carry forwards. Okay. We want to tax people when they make money. We don't want to tax people when they lose money, okay? That's shitty. Who the fuck wants to pay taxes if they're losing money, okay? Let's say that I start a business, okay? Destiny, you can do it way more often than once a year. The IRA rollover, why would you just only want to do it once at the end of the year? Why would you keep doing it throughout the year? Just do it 1 time per year, right? Why would you roll over every month? What the fuck? This sounds like a lot of unnecessary shit. Let's say that I open a business, okay? Let's say that I open a business and I spend $10 million, okay? For the first year, okay? Let's say that year 1, I invest $10 million let's say for the first year, I only make $1 million in revenue, okay? My profit is going to be negative $9 million. I don't know if this is used in the rest of the world. When I've seen spreadsheets, usually losses are written in parentheses. So if I ever write something in parentheses, this is like a negative. That's what I'm used to seeing in finance. But that might just be me. Are there any finance majors in here? Is that normal accounting practice? So for the first year, you've lost $9 million, okay? So let's say the federal government comes in and they're going to tax you. What the fuck are they taxing you on? You're going to tax me? I spent $10 million on this goddamn business. I only made $1 million. I lost $9 million. You're going to make me pay taxes on my $1 million in revenue? I didn't even make money. What the fuck? How you want me to pay tax? I've already lost $9 million. I've lost $9 million. You're going to make me pay taxes on my $1 million in revenue? That's bullshit. I'm closing shop. You're fucked, right? So typically what we do, we'll call this carry forward loss, okay? So typically what we do is we'll say, okay, check this out. You lost $9 million. You can carry this forward, okay? You get to carry forward $9 million. So let's say next year we spend, let's say we spend $2 million, okay? So far we've lost $12 million, but let's say we make a lot more in revenue, okay? Let's say we make $5 million in revenues here. That's awesome, okay? Now, even though we only spent $2 million and we made $5 million, right? So we have this profit of $3 million. In actuality, I should have a separate column for total profit. I lost $9 million here, and I gained $3 million here. I'm still in the hole $6 million, okay? But even though I made money this year, right? I made $5 million. That's awesome. Well, not really. I'm still super in the hole. But I have this carry forward loss that I can use to offset my taxable income for the next year. Sorry if my webcam is bugging. It gets fucked. So even though I technically made $3 million this year, I have a $9 million carry forward that I can use, meaning that I still have like $6 million that I can use in the future to carry forward to future losses. So like, let's say this year I invest another $2 million, and then let's say that I earn $10 million this year, okay? Oh my God, that's awesome. We're finally like making money now. Sick. So let's see, I'm down $9 million here. I'm up $3 million here. So I've got a $6 million carry forward, and now I've made $8 million here. Well, now, even though I made $8 million here, I'm really only like $2 million profitable, right? Because I had this like carry forward loss. Now we've used all of it now, but I only have to pay taxes on this $2 million that I'm actually profitable on, right? Because I had my carry forward loss. Carry forward losses are good things. You don't, anybody that complains, oh, Amazon only paid blah, 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 blah. That's fine, because when businesses make money in the US, we want them to invest that money. If you're making money as a business, fuck you. We don't want you to hold on to it. We want to encourage you to reinvest. We want you to throw money into your business, because more business means more consumer activity, it means more employment, and it usually means a better economy, which is good for a whole variety of other reasons. Higher tax receipts, more economic development and growth, more competitive trade with the rest of the world, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So carry forward losses are fine. Anybody that complains about them, they just don't understand taxes. That's fine. Most people don't. They just read Twitter threads. But carry forward losses, good. Big good, okay? Big chungus, good taxes. So you're saying someone like me who's earning $50K a year compared to a billionaire should pay more in taxes because that's what happened. He paid only $750. I don't give a fuck what tax loopholes he takes advantage of. That's just bullshit. It just sounds like bullshit because you're poor and uneducated and you know fucking dick all about taxes. That's fine. You make $50,000 a year. I don't care. But the only reason you make $50,000 a year is because there's probably a millionaire that probably opened the business that you're working at. The fact of the matter is we want to encourage these people to heavily reinvest their money. That money needs to be reinvested into future jobs, into future growth. We can't have them hoarding the money, and we don't want to discourage capital investment by taxing people on losses. We want people to take risks in the United States. Risks are very important parts of entrepreneurship. If you take a risk and you get fucked for it, well, at the very least, there should be like a little bit of a tax cushion for you to absorb some of that loss, right? We don't want to tax you on revenue if you're losing money in your business. What was Trump reinvesting? Trump is the ultimate example of simulacra, okay? Trump used his vision of a businessman to get on The Apprentice as a businessman so that he could get paid tons of money to go invest in his failing businesses as a failed businessman. So Trump was a failing businessman that looked like a successful businessman that got on a show where he pretended to be a successful businessman so that he could get enough money to capitally invest in the losses of all of his currently running businesses. That's mind-blowing to me. That's very fucking funny. It's very funny to me. Trump, from the appearance, it's impossible to say exactly, I think. Destiny, you keep mixing in this is how taxes work with this is how taxes should be. If someone says Trump should pay more taxes than them, they're not making a claim about tax law. Yeah, but usually they're just dumb. They just don't know how taxes work. And they don't know how taxes should work. We don't want to take a business owner that's lost $5 million and force them to pay taxes on negative money. Why would you do that? Why would you make somebody pay taxes on negative money? That's crazy. We don't want them to do that. That's fucked, right? Does the Trump tax stuff break the law? Well, that's what's being argued about in the IRS with his capital carry forward, with his total loss that he tried to write off. It doesn't seem like it, but yeah. Where would I go to learn about taxes? Well, I learned all about taxes thanks to, not TurboTax, H&R Block. Because the first time I filed taxes as a streamer, they handed me like a bill that was like 40% of my income. And I was like, oh, we're not doing this. And I learned a lot of it early on. Now I have somebody that does it for me, but. Why do I need to know how taxes work to know that $750 is dumb as fuck? Okay, let's say that you have, here's an example. Let's say that you have $1 million in your bank account. You've saved up your money, okay? Let's say that you take this money and let's say that you invest, okay? Let's say that you buy a business for $1 million. Literally every goddamn fucking dollar that you have, okay? And then let's say that you make, okay? Let's say that you make like $50,000 in revenue from this business, okay? You are down $950,000. Why the fuck would you pay taxes on this $50K in revenue when you're not even profitable on your investment? Why would anybody make you do that? That's insane. Do you think it's fair that the tax codes in the U.S. are complicated enough to essentially be a tax on people who are uneducated enough? Well, kind of. I mean, if you're a W-2 earner, there's just not much you can do with taxes. The revenue from the investment would be capital gains, right? If it's like a direct business investment, I think that's different than just investing in a company. Like if that was your last $1 million, you'd basically be $50,000 in debt, right? Well, you'd be $950,000. Well, not in debt, but like, wouldn't small liquid wealth taxes encourage millionaires to invest? Okay, here's the problem with wealth taxes. Ready? This is why wealth taxes suck, okay? Number one, wealth taxes are incredibly fucking difficult. Okay, a tax should be easy to understand, easy to levy, easy to collect. There's like 3 there. I just made those 3. But generally, like a tax should be like a sales tax. That's a really good tax. I go into a store, something's $10. There's a 7% sales tax, 70 cents, right? Okay, I understand it. It's easy to understand. When I go to pay at the cash register, I pay them $10.70. Easy to pay and easy for the government to collect. What a great tax. Sales tax are really nice for that reason. Now, they might be bad in other ways. They're regressive, et cetera, sure. But in terms of like an easy to understand, easy to collect tax, that's an awesome tax, sales tax, right? A wealth tax, okay? The problem with wealth taxes are, okay, I'm going to tax you on a percentage. I'm going to tax you on a percentage of your income. Oh, I'm sorry, not income, on your total wealth. Okay, well, one, how are we going to value that, okay? You're going to come in and you're going to try to value my wealth? Well, guess what, motherfucker? You're going to appraise every goddamn thing I have. My saxophone, that Selmer sax in the closet, oh, that's like a $25 horn. It doesn't work anymore. Okay, well, we fight over that. Like, oh, this keyboard is $15. Like, oh, this like rare painting I have that I bought in an auction for $1 million that maybe it appreciated to $10 million. Nah, actually, I think it depreciated for $500K, right? You have to argue over, there is so much shit that goes into evaluating a person's net worth. In every country where they've tried, people's net worth will like dramatically change after like a wealth tax goes in. And then the problem is it takes so many resources from a tax body to start to argue and fight over how to value shit. It's too much work. It's not effective to levy that. There are so many better ways that we could tax things. Also, you get into weird places as well. So like a lot of people look at Bezos and like, oh, we need to tax Bezos. Blah, 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 blah. Taxing them, sure. Well, like let's say we put a 5% wealth tax on Bezos. Are we gonna force somebody to liquidate shares in their business so that they can pay a wealth tax? That's really fucking strange. I don't know if I like the idea of that. Let's say that you have a business that's worth like $1 million or $10 million, and now you have like a 5% wealth tax, okay? Oh, well, fuck. What if like 99% of my net worth is wrapped up in my business? You're gonna force me to liquidate my shares so that I have to pay a tax? Like, I haven't realized that gain yet. So the realization of a gain is after you sell an asset and you increase your wealth as a result of it. If I have $1 million stock, it appreciates to $2 million in value. For me to realize that gain, I need to sell it, and then I realize a $1 million gain, all right? I haven't even gotten money from my business yet. Why the fuck would I pay taxes on it? It's not even my money yet. It's just an asset I have. You're gonna make me sell off parts of what I own just to pay you taxes? That's crazy. That's not good. Why would you force somebody to do that? Way better, tax the income, okay? Or make certain types of consumption taxes that apply to wealthy people. High income tax, good. If you wanna bump up the capital gains tax, yeah, fucking bump up the capital gains tax. I can right now, so here's some crazy shit. Some of you guys in chat made $50,000, okay, last year, all right? You're gonna have to pay on your $50,000, ordinary income tax rates USA. On your $50,000, you're gonna have to pay an average of probably like, maybe like 17%, 18% tax. And if you made more than that, let's say that you made like $100,000, right? It's going to be even more than that. Maybe like 20% you'll have to pay. I sold Amazon stock and I made $50K off of that. I'm only going to have to pay 15%, a little bit less actually, right? Because my $50K there is capital gains. I get a whole separate set of tax brackets. So if you want to talk about like making more money, maybe we don't just change ordinary income. Maybe the capital gains rates needs to go up a little bit as well, right? Maybe it's not fair that if you make a big sale of a capital asset, like a stock, maybe you should have to pay a little bit more in tax to that. Now, I don't know how that would impact the market too much, but you know, it's a good thing to keep in mind. Capital gains tax should be the same as income. I don't know about that because I don't know how much that might discourage investment. So for instance, I know that Sweden has tried, what was Bernie Sanders was talking about it? Certain types of taxes related to speculation. There's a name for this. There's a specific name for this. Transaction taxes, FTT, financial transaction taxes, I think, or investment transaction taxes. I think it's FTT, financial transaction tax. It was horrible. Like 96% of the volume of the types of trades that were happening that this tax applied to completely vanished in Sweden and moved to the UK. Financial transaction taxes, not good. Like super fucks. Yeah. Biden's tax plan includes taxes, long-term capital gains, and qualified dividends at the ordinary income tax rate of 39.6% on income above $1 million, and eliminates step-up in basis for capital gains taxation. I don't know if taking capital gains up to ordinary income is good, but I can definitely understand like an increase in the rates there for sure. It never made sense to me why tax rates would be lower for investments than actual work. One of the income sources is PL passive. So here's the argument. I don't know if I fully agree with this, but the argument is that let's say that I make $100,000. Cool. I pay all my ordinary income tax on it and my payroll tax. So that's FICA. So I pay federal, state, Social Security, Medicare. Okay. My FICA and my state and federal. Okay. Awesome. Cool. Now I have like 70K left. Okay. Awesome. I take that 50K and I invest it in a stock. Let's say that that stock appreciates in value and then I withdraw it. Wait a second. You're going to tax me on the appreciation of my money? I already paid taxes on that money. Bullshit. How are you going to tax me again? I already paid. That's typically the argument for having a different tax treatment for income that gains value. For capital gain income versus normal, like ordinary income. Now, I don't know if I buy that. I feel like you could still bump those tax rates up and make up a lot of money, but that's like the argument that's usually given in response to that. We have a wealth tax that taxes you based on houses you own. If you have one house, it is taxed at a certain percent, but a second house is taxed higher than the first. Does that seem like a favorable tax to have? Well, that's not a wealth tax. It's like a type of property tax. I guess you could argue property tax is a type of wealth tax, maybe. Don't you pay double tax on income tax and then sales tax? Yeah, you do. You do on a lot of taxes, for sure. Could you also explain what other types? Well, hold on. No. Oh, hold on. Fuck. Some tax guy might call me out on that. Actually, technically, I don't. Okay, where are my tax people in chat? I don't think you technically pay taxes on sales tax because as part of your standard federal deduction, that's included in, hypothetically, the money that you pay in sales tax, I believe. So for instance, I think that if you take an itemized deduction, meaning you think that you've got more tax deductible income than what the standard federal exemption would allow for, that as part of that itemized deduction, you can include sales tax that you paid so you don't have to pay taxes against money you already paid in sales tax. I believe you do that on an itemization. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. We know that wealth creates wealth. Why the fuck would we allow literal trillionaires to exist and own our country in 10 years because we were afraid of some inefficiency? It's not about, no, shut the fuck up. Shut up. You're so fucking stupid, okay? Stop with the fucking hate boner for billionaires. Most of you guys that hate fucking billionaires, your parents fucking make like $250K a year anyway, okay? Fuck off with this billionaire fucking hatred, okay? Think of effective ways to redistribute money into necessary social programs. That should be your goal. Your goal shouldn't be fuck Jeff Bezos. Remove the hatred from your heart. The goal should be we need to fund some kind of fucking healthcare system, okay? Fill your heart with love instead. Be positive, not negative. Instead of talking about tearing down billionaires, talk about raising revenue for social healthcare, for more immigration programs, for expanded WIC, for expanded, food stamp access. These should be the things you're talking about. Once you know how much money you need, then you have a tax target that you need to raise taxes to set. Your goal should never be to eliminate billionaires. Your goal should be to raise enough revenue to fund your social programs. That should be the goal. How much should the highest tax rate be? Is 40 or 45% too much? Seems like it should go. I have no idea, honestly. I don't know what it needs to be to fund all of those things. I feel like a lot of lefties are more into killing billionaires and cops than they are into helping poor black communities. Fucking true. Anytime I see somebody, here's a fun fact for you. Boom, ding, 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 ding. Fun Destiny fact of the day. Did you know that 95% of people on Twitter that say fuck all billionaires, kill all billionaires, steal all billionaires' wealth have zero actual policy suggestions for how to amend the tax code in order to recover more money from these billionaires? And the only 5% that do just screech, wealth tax, without having any idea how to implement it, what the implications are of it, and how difficult it would be to actually extract value to somebody via wealth tax. Wait, so use billionaires to fund social programs by using taxes? Sure, billionaires, millionaires, whatever the fuck you have to tax to do it, sure. But you do admit that billionaires have a lot of sway in politics and they make it very hard to fund social programs? Nope, wrong. Don't agree with that. Nope, absolutely don't. I don't think billionaires and millionaires have that much sway in fucking policy. Get mad at me all you fucking want. When we start seeing voter turnout in this country over 75, 80%, and billionaires are still getting their way or whatever. When most billionaires and millionaires are fucking left-leaning when it comes to fucking policies like this shit anyway. Fucking people like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates are out there saying like fucking tax me more, it's fine. Like the problem is dumb fuck voters that vote for fucking Republicans that want to have lower taxes, okay? Don't blame the fucking billionaire, even though that's the trendy thing to do. Blame the fucking redneck dipshit that's voting for more tax breaks for people like me and to fuck up the lives of his children, okay? These are the problems that you have. Your problems are in the voting booth, not on some illusory fucking billionaire in the back fucking pulling the strings, okay? Here, you want to get ultra fucking woke on politics? Here's your wokest fucking political thing ever. Go and see how many people vote, go and figure out the demographics of the voters, and all of your questions will be answered insofar as how people are actually enacting policy. There you go. You'll understand all of it, okay? What about the Koch brothers influencing politics back in PragerU and grassroots, etc.? Sure, a lot of left-leaning people throw a lot of money at that shit too, but why do you think it's so easy to garner an ideology on a common enemy? It's easy and fun to have somebody to hate, and it's sexy to have like revolutionary politics without like using your brain at all to think about them. 99% of online politics is just aesthetic. People don't actually give a fuck about the substance of what they're talking about. And it's usually just like having sexy policy positions and then screaming about it. Just because aesthetics are popular doesn't mean they should be ignored. If you ever want to get anywhere, you're going to have to use looks as well as effective policymaking, not truth backed up with unnecessarily edgy tweets. So everyone ends up distancing themselves from certain rhetoric. I mean, you can make fun of me for that, but how far have lefties gotten in this country? Where's Bernie at right now? Yeah, I mean, my goal isn't to be a policymaker. My goal is that I like to have fact-based conversations on the internet. I'm not trying to push a certain policy. Aesthetic is pretty important, but I think that actual policy suggestions at the end of the day are what get things done. I mean, aesthetic is probably important. You have to couple it. Aesthetic motivates people to go out and vote. Are you going to ignore that he came in second? Oh, true. What do you get for coming in second for a primary again? Can you remind me, Pogus Champus? I called him Pogus. It's Pogus. Destiny. Coming in second is magnitudes worse than getting elected, but Bernie isn't cucking himself. He seems to be doing the best thing someone who can come up short do. Immediately endorse the better candidate and then work with them to tailor policy and talking points to make it. Yeah, sure. Bernie is making like suggestions to Biden, but those are policy suggestions, right? Policy is important. Listen, you can't wait. Why are we even having this argument? You can't tell me what I get to talk about. I want to talk about what I want to talk about. Fuck you. You don't get to tell me what my conversation is going to be about. I like to make fact-based discussions related to policy and descriptive fact. That's what I do. That's fun for me. If you want to talk about like aesthetic or whatever, that's fine. I just don't like it when people that focus on aesthetic masquerade as fact-based people. The majority of the people on the internet don't even read past Twitter fucking headlines for their information. And when they go around and pretend that they're like presenting some like truthful fact-based narrative, I don't know, that kind of fucking annoys me, okay? That's all I'm saying. Trump said that he was going to shore up losses in like Medicare and Social Security by slashing the funding of the EPA. These losses were like, this is a shortfall in the magnitude of like $600 to $800 billion. And Trump said that he was going to cut the EPA budget to make it up. And Wallace pointed out the entire annual operating budget of the EPA is fucking $8 billion, you stupid fuck.
But Mr. Trump, your numbers don't add up. Please put up full screen number 4. The Education Department, you talk about cutting. The total budget for the Education Department is $78 billion, and that includes Pell Grants for low-income students and aid to states for special education. I assume you wouldn't cut those things. The entire budget for the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, $8 billion. Okay.
Yeah, I love that. Wallace fact check was hilarious to me. Oh, another big issue that's coming up with Trump that will be very interesting how it gets settled. Trump using campaign funds for shit like the Stormy Daniels stuff, which I believe is the case that New York State is currently holding against Trump. They're not going to file those charges or move forward with them until Trump is no longer president. That's a big fucking no-no as well. The thing is that rhetorically, the tax shit, all Biden has to do is like, Trump will be like, oh, we're going to do this Middle East, blah, blah, and then Biden will be like, $750 a year. And then Trump will be like, oh, and Biden will be like, $750 a year. That rhetorically just looks so unbelievably bad for Trump. And if that 750 number doesn't come up at least once, I'll fucking multi-stream to fucking Chatterbait after this, okay? That 750 figure is definitely going to come up at least one time, probably multiple times in the course of this debate. Like, it's just rhetorically so unbelievably fucking like horrible. That number for Trump is so bad. Even if it really isn't that bad, because there's nothing there's nothing bad about carry forward losses, assuming they're not done via tax evasion. But like, it looks so bad, dude. Yeah. Also, there is like a rhetorical punch. It's so hard to beat up people about taxes because they're so complicated. People don't understand it. But all this time, When Trump talks about paying little taxes, Trump has always bragged, well, the reason why I don't is because I take advantage of tax loopholes. I'm just a smart businessman. He's not a smart businessman. The reason why Trump doesn't pay much in taxes is because all of his fucking investments lose money. That's not being a smart businessman. That just means you suck at business. Yeah, like, of course you don't have to pay taxes because you don't fucking make any money in any of your fucking investments. That's why you had to move that capital gains loss. You had to move that over to your ordinary income, because the only way that Trump makes money isn't by being a businessman. It's by playing one on TV, which is ordinary income. Yeah. Do we know how much Trump's net value is? It's impossible to determine that, I think, with any tax sheet. I don't know if you'll ever see net value written anywhere. You need like a lot of tax history to try to make a guess about that. But it's this is such a bullshit number, and I don't really actually know this, but I feel like, based on what I've seen so far, it's unlikely, or it appears unlikely, that Trump is even a billionaire. Like, I know, right? Like, imagine not even being a billionaire. That seems like it's a decent possibility.
But we have more tests by far than any country in the world.
But, sir, testing is up 37%.
Well, that's good.
I understand. Cases are up 194%. It isn't just the test.
Dude, Wallace is brutal, man. Well, after Mark Shepard, whatever, is gone, Wallace is the one good guy at fucking Fox News left. Oh my God, dude.
Clay, he exposed homosexuality as an issue that, to me, it was a bit much for the crowd.
You brought out homosexuality. Are you a homosexual, Clay?
I am. Yes, Mr. Trump, I am.
No, is that true?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
My party is
and
me.
Socialist
right
healthcare.
now, I am
and
the
they're going to dominate
Party.
you, Joe. You know that.
I am the Democratic Party right now.
True.
The platform of the
Not according
Democratic
to
Party
Harris.
is what I, in fact...
Why is Trump allowed to interrupt like this?
What I approved of.
Over the last 4 years, you have promised to repeal and replace Obamacare, but you have never in these 4 years come up with a plan, a comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare.
Of course I have.
Well,
I got rid of the individual mandate.
I'm going to give you an opportunity.
I got rid of the individual mandate, which was a big chunk of
Obamacare.
That is absolutely a big thing. That was the worst part of Obamacare. Chris, that was the worst part of Obamacare.
Let me ask my question.
Well, I'll ask Joe. The individual mandate was the most unpopular aspect of Obamacare. I got rid of it. And we will protect people with
President, I'm the moderator of this
conditions.
debate, and I would like you to let me ask my question, and then you can answer.
Insulin. I'll give you an example. Insulin. It was destroying families, destroying people, because I'm getting it for so cheap. It's like water, you want to know the truth. So cheap.
That you would like to add a public option to Obamacare, and
Yes.
the argument that he makes and other Republicans make is that that is going to end private insurance.
It is
and
not.
Well, if I can ask you the question, it will
Not
end.
what your party says, by the way.
It will end private insurance and create a government takeover of health care.
It does not. It's only for those people who are so poor they qualify for Medicaid. They can get that free in most states, except governors who want to deny people who are poor Medicaid. Anyone who qualifies for Medicare would, Medicaid would automatically be enrolled in the public option. The vast majority of the American people would still not be in that option, number one.
Joe, you agreed with Bernie Sanders, who's far left, on the manifesto, we call it. Manifesto. You socialize medicine.
Look, hey,
Are you saying
I'm not
you
going to
didn't
listen to
agree?
him. The fact of the matter is, I beat Bernie Sanders.
Not by much.
I beat him a whole hell of a lot. I'm here standing facing you, old buddy.
Pocahontas would have left 2 days early. You would have lost every primary.
All he knows how to
on
do is
Super
hurt.
Tuesday. You got
Look,
very lucky.
here's the deal. I got very lucky. I'm going to get very lucky tonight as well. And tonight I'm going to make sure, because here's the deal. Here's the deal. The fact is that everything he's saying so far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
But you
I just
agree.
want to
Hey,
make
Joe,
sure.
Joe, you're the liar.
I want to make sure.
Graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
I want to make
Mr.
sure.
President, can you let him finish, sir?
No, he doesn't know how to do that. He has,
You'd be surprised.
You pick
You'd be surprised.
the
Go ahead,
wrong
Joe.
guy,
Go
the
on,
wrong
Joe,
night at
go.
the wrong time.
Listen, you agreed with
Here's the
Bernie
deal.
Sanders to the
The
manifesto.
whole idea.
Let him.
There is no manifesto, number
Please
one.
let him speak, Mr.
Number
President.
two.
You just lost the left.
Number two.
You just lost the left. You agreed with Bernie Sanders on a plan
Folks,
absolutely
folks,
agreed
do you have
to,
any
and under that
idea
plan,
what
you
this
have
clown-
socialized
How mind blown are like all the lefties watching this who are like, wait, what? They don't know that Biden is a neoliberal, conservative right winger? What is happening?
Why would you answer that
because
question?
the question
you want to put a lot of new Supreme Court justices, radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe?
This
Who's
is
on your
so-
list?
Right, gentlemen, I think
This
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's going to pack the court.
We have
We're not going to give a list.
We have ended this segment. We're going to move on to the second segment.
That was really a productive segment, wasn't it? Keep yapping, man. I know how to do the job. I know how to get the job
Well, you didn't do
done.
very well in swine flu. H1N1, you were a disaster. Your own chief of staff said you were a disaster.
14,000 people died, not 200,000. There was
A
no
very-
economic
Why would you go to
recession.
swine
Far
flu?
less
There was no
lethal
recession.
disease,
You made a
by the way.
point. Let him answer
And
it.
there was no one, we didn't shut down the economy. This is his economy he's shut down. The reason it's shut down is because, look,
Jesus.
you folks at home, how many of you got up this morning and had an empty chair at the kitchen table because someone died of COVID?
They can go faster than that by a lot. Become very political because the left, or I don't know if I call
So
them
you're
left, I don't know
suggesting
what I
that the
call them.
head of your Operation Warp Speed, Dr. Smawi?
I disagree with him. Yeah, no, I disagree with both of them. And he didn't say that. He said it could be there, but it could also be much sooner. I had him in my office 2 days ago.
He talked about the summer, sir, before it's generally available. Just like
He said
Dr.
it's a
Redfield.
possibility that we'll have the answer before November 1st. It could also
I'm
be
talking
after
about when it's
that.
generally available. not when it
Well,
will
we're
be.
going to deliver it right away. We have the military all set up logistically. They're all set up. We have our military that delivers soldiers, and they can do 200,000 a day. They're going to be
This is
delivering
the
the
same
vaccine.
man
It's
who
all
told
set
you
up.
by Easter this would be gone away. By the warm weather, it'd be gone. Miraculous, like a miracle. And by the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take care of it. This is the
That
same
was
man.
said sarcastically.
That was
you
him.
know that.
I-
That
I-
was said
So
sarcastically.
here's the deal. This man is talking about.
Okay, that was a good
vaccine.
singer.
He puts pressure and disagrees with his own scientists.
But you're saying you
Everybody
can't, or
knows.
Senator
And-
Harris is saying you
no,
can't trust the scientists.
No. You can trust the scientists. She didn't say that. You can't trust.
She said the public health
Did say
experts,
that.
quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed.
Well, that's what he's going to try to do. But there's millions of scientists, there's thousands of scientists out there, like here at this great hospital, that don't work for him. Their job doesn't depend on him. That's not. They're the people. And by
I
the way,
spoke to the
and Fauci,
scientists that are in
and
charge.
By the way,
they will have
and
the vaccine very
does-
soon.
Let him finish.
Do you believe for a moment what he's telling you in light of all the lies he's told you about the whole issue relating to COVID? He still hasn't even acknowledged that he knew this was happening, knew how dangerous it was going to be back in February, and he didn't even tell you. He's on record as saying it. He panicked or he just looked at the stock market, one of the two, because guess what? A lot of people died, and a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter, a lot quicker.
So-
Mr. President?
Did you use the word smart? So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me.
By the way, did you see
Judge, sir.
one of the last big rallies he had? And a reporter came up to him to ask him a question. He said, no, stand back. Put on your mask. Put on a mask. Have you been tested? I'm way far away from those other people. That's what he said. I can't. I'm going to be okay. He's not worried about you. He's not worried about the people out there breathing in one another.
We've had no
or
negative
cheek to
effect.
jowl. No negative effect.
We've
Come
had
on.
no negative effect. And we've had 35, 40,000
All right. Do you
people
want
at
to
any of these rallies.
just
Yes.
quickly finish up because I want to move on to our next.
Yes, I would. He's been totally irresponsible the way in which he has handled the social distancing and people wearing masks, basically encouraged them not to.
All right.
He's a fool on this.
If you could get the crowds, you would have done the same thing. But you can't. Nobody cares.
Gentlemen, can we move on
Nobody
to the
cares.
gentlemen?
I don't wear masks like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He could be speaking 200 feet away from it. He shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen. I will say,
You can
But
do
you
it,
folks
Biden.
at home-
Hold on.
You folks living in Scranton and Claymont and all the small towns and working class towns in America, how well are you doing? This guy paid
Well,
a total of $750 in
wrong.
taxes.
Any
Sir,
millions.
wait, no, sir, it's
It's
his
the wrong
Yeah, I
statement.
understand. You've agreed to the 2 minutes, so please let him have it.
Do I get my time back? The fact is that he has, in fact, worked on this in a way that he's going to be the first president of the United States to leave office having fewer jobs in his administration than when he became president. Fewer jobs than when he became president. First one in American history. Secondly, The people who have lost their jobs are those people who have been on the front lines, those people who have been saving our lives, those people who have been out there dying, people who've been putting themselves in the way to make sure that we could all try to make it. And the idea that he is insisting that we go forward and open when you have almost half the states in America with a significant increase in COVID deaths and COVID cases in the United States of America. And he wants to open it up more. Why does he want to open it up? Why doesn't he take care of the American? You can't fix the economy until you fix the COVID crisis. And he has no intention of doing anything about making it better for you all at home in terms of your health and your safety. Schools, why aren't schools open? Because it costs a lot of money to open them safely. You know, they were going to give, his administration was going to give the teachers and school students masks. And then they decided, no, couldn't do that because it's not a national emergency. Not a national emergency. They've done nothing to help small businesses. Nothing. They're closing. 1 in 6 is now gone. He ought to get on the job and take care of the needs of the American people so we can open safely.
All right. People want their places open. They want to get back to their lives.
People
They'll
want
be
to
careful,
be safe.
but they want their schools open.
People want
I'm
to
the
be
one that
safe.
brought back football. By the way, I brought back Big Ten football. It was me, and I'm very happy to do it. And
All right,
people of
let's-
Ohio are very proud of me.
As you well know, there's a new report that in 2016, the year you were elected president, and 2017, your first year as president, that you paid $750 a year in federal income tax each of those years. I know that you pay a lot of other taxes, but I'm asking you the specific question. Is it true that you paid $750 in federal income taxes each of those 2 years?
I paid millions of dollars in taxes, millions of dollars of income tax. And let me just tell you, there was a story in one of the papers.
Show us your tax
I paid
returns.
$38 million one year. I paid $27 million
Show us your tax
one year.
returns.
I went, you'll see it as soon as it's finished. You'll see it. You know, if you want to do, go to the Board of Elections. There's a 118-page or so report that says everything I have, every bank I have, I'm totally under-leveraged because the assets are extremely good, and we have a very, I built
Sir,
a great
I'm asking
company.
you a specific question, which
But
is...
let me tell you-
I understand all of that.
Release your
I
tax
understand
return.
all of that.
But let
No, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
I'm asking you a question. Will you tell us how much you paid in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars?
Millions of dollars.
So
yes.
not 750?
Millions of dollars, and you'll get to see it.
I-
And you'll get to
When?
see it. But let me just
Inshallah?
tell you, Chris, let me just tell you something, that it was the tax laws. I don't want to pay tax. Before I came here, I was a private developer. I was a private business people. Like every other private person, unless they're stupid, they go through the laws, and that's what it is. He passed a tax bill that gave us all these privileges for depreciation and for tax credits. We build a building and we get tax credits, like the hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue. You get a massive, which, by the way, was given to me by the Obama administration, if you can believe that. Now, the man got fired right after that happened. But
Vice
that's
President Biden, you want to respond?
Yeah, I do want to respond. Look, the tax code that made him, put him in a position that he pays less tax than a school teacher makes, on the money a school teacher makes, is because of him he says he's smart because he can take advantage of the tax code. And he does take advantage of the tax code. That's why I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts. And I'm going to eliminate those tax cuts and make sure that we invest in the people who, in fact, need the help. People out there need help.
But why didn't you do it over the last 25 years?
Because you weren't president. Because you weren't president screwing things up.
You were a senator. And
You're
by
the
way,
worst
you were a
president
vice-
America has ever had.
Hey,
Come
Joe,
on.
the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million.
That's
What
not
did he
true.
do to deserve it?
That
What
is
did he do with Burisma
none
to
of that
deserve
is true.
$183,000?
None
You've
of
asked
that
your
is
question,
true.
let him answer.
None of that is true.
Oh,
It's
really? He didn't
totally,
get
But no,
$3.5
hey,
million?
Mr. President,
It's
Mr.
totally-
President, please.
totally
ask the question.
discredited. Totally discredited. And by the way,
Well, wait, he didn't get
No, no.
$3.5 million, Joe?
Mr. Vice,
He got
Mr.
$3.5 million.
President,
that is not true.
Oh, really?
Mr.
Oh.
President,
But,
it's an open discussion, please.
Now,
It's a fact.
Well,
It
you
is
have
not a
raised an
fact.
issue. Let the
It's been
Vice
totally
President answer.
discredited.
Did
There was a
Burisma pay him
report.
$183,000 a month with no experience in energy?
Mr.
Look,
President.
no
My
job.
son did nothing wrong at Burisma.
I think he did.
and
Mr.
the only
President,
guy that
let
did
him
something-
answer.
He doesn't want to let me answer because he knows I have the truth. His position has been totally, thoroughly discredited.
who?
And you
The
can-
media?
By everybody. Well, by the
By the
media,
media,
by our
because they refuse to
allies, by
talk
the
about it
World
because they're
Bank,
embarrassed.
by everyone has discredited. Matter of fact, even
Mr.
the
President,
people who
please stop.
testified under oath.
So let me
under
ask you
oath,
this,
under-
Joe.
under
No,
oath.
go ahead, Mr. I'm listening to
Even the
you.
people under.
You got $3.5
He
million from
testified,
Moscow.
he testified under oath in his administration, said, I did my job and I did it very well.
Oh,
I
really?
did it
I'd like to
honorably.
know who they are.
Well, I'll give you the list
I'll
of the
fire
people who
them.
testified.
No, go ahead, sir.
Sure, you've already fired most of them because they did a good job.
Some people don't do a
Well,
good
here's
job.
President Trump, you have often said that you believe you have done more for black Americans than any president, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln. My question for the two of you is, why should voters trust you rather than your opponent to deal with the race issues facing this country over the next 4 years? Vice President Biden, you go first.
It's about equity and equality. It's about decency. It's about the Constitution. And we have never walked away from trying to require equity for everyone, equality for the whole of America. But we've never accomplished it. But we've never walked away from it like he has done. It is true. The reason I got in the race is when those people, close your eyes, remember what those people look like coming out of the fields carrying torches, their veins bulging, just spewing anti-Semitic bile, and accompanied by the Ku Klux Klan. A young woman got killed. And they asked the president what he thought. He said there were very fine people on both sides. No president has ever said anything like that.
It is who's
Now,
2 minutes, sir.
second point I'd make to you is that when Floyd was killed, when Mr. Floyd was killed, there was a peaceful protest in front of the White House. What did he do? He came out of his bunker, had the military use tear gas on him so he could walk across to a church and hold up a Bible. And then what happened after that? The bishop of that very church said that it was a disgrace. The general who was with him said all he ever wants to do is divide people, not unite people at all. This is a president who has used everything as a dog whistle to try to generate racist hatred, racist division. This is a man who, in fact, you talk about helping African Americans. 1 in 1,000 African Americans has been killed because of the coronavirus.
First of all, what does reimagining policing mean, and do you support?
It means.
Let me, if I might finish the question. What does reimagining policing mean, and do you support the Black Lives Matter call for community control of policing?
Look, what I support is the police having the opportunity to deal with the problems they face. And I'm totally opposed to defunding the police officers. As a matter of fact, local police, the only one defunding in his budget calls for a $400 million cut in local law enforcement assistance. They need more assistance. They need, when they show up for a 9/11 call, to have someone with them as a psychologist or psychiatrist to keep them from having to use force and be able to talk people down. We have to have community policing like we had before, where the officers get to know the people in the communities. That's when crime went down. It didn't go up, it went down. You know, his own former spokesperson said, you know, riots and chaos and violence help his cause. That's what this is all about.
I don't know who said that.
I do.
Who?
I think Kellyanne Conway.
I don't think she said that.
She said that. And so here's the,
All right.
But here's the point.
Go ahead,
The point
sir.
is that that's what he is, keeps trying to rile everything up. He doesn't want to calm things down. Instead of going in and talking to people and saying, let's get everybody together, figure out how to deal with this. What's he do? He just pours gasoline in the fire constantly, every single solitary time.
And you have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
Are you
I'm willing
prepared
to do
specifically
that,
do it?
Well, go ahead, sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
You want to call them What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name.
supremacists
Go ahead.
and
Who would
white
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing.
FBI director
This
said
is a left-wing problem.
White supremacist.
Oh, my
Antifa's
God.
an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you gotta be
not
kidding.
militia. That's what
really?
his
It's an idea.
FBI director
Gentlemen,
said.
Well, then you know what? He's wrong.
we're done, sir. We're moving on to the next. We're
When
moving.
a bat hits you over the head, that's not an idea.
Everybody in
Antifa
your
is
administration
bad.
tells you the truth has a bad idea.
Can I tell you what?
You have no ideas.
Antifa is a dangerous,
All right,
radical
gentlemen,
group.
we're now moving on to the Trump
And
and
you ought to be
Biden
careful with
records.
them. They'll overthrow you.
When
in
a
2
president,
seconds.
I'm going to ask a question.
So you don't find Olive very attractive then?
No, I mean,
and
she's
you
a
don't
beautiful
find
woman.
Felicia very attractive?
They're beautiful women, but they're not my thing.
All right.
I want you to give me a word or phrase to describe the performance of both candidates. I'm going to call on you and then respond. Word or phrase. Do not give me an explanation. Just one word or phrase. Let's start with Donald Trump. Michelle, word or phrase to describe Donald Trump tonight.
Horrid.
Sorry.
Sarah.
Chaotic.
Rob.
Unpolished.
Ruthie.
Crackhead.
Katie. I don't know how to spell that. Kimberly.
Puzzling.
Jeremy.
Un-American.
Say that again.
Un-American.
Mike.
Unhinged.
Nick.
An ass, but a confident ass.
Hey. Joe.
That was classic Trump. Oh,
Say
sorry.
again. Joe. Say again.
Classic Trump.
Luke.
Forceful.
Joe from Arizona.
Unhinged.
Jerry.
Bully.
Jennifer.
Arrogant.
Cheryl.
That was my word, arrogant. Same
And
thing.
Travis.
Typical.
Okay, that doesn't sound too good. You guys really didn't. So if you're advising Donald Trump in his debate performance, what would you be telling him to do right now? Let me get 3 of you, and then we're going to do Joe Biden. The same thing, a word or phrase. 3 people. Tell me why or how Donald Trump can improve his performance in the next debate.
He needs to start talking over people. It's very rude, and it just gives a bad impression.
I think that Trump needs to run on his record. He doesn't have the worst record. I mean, he's got, the foreign policy is good. The economy is good. I mean, it's not bad.
You know what?
Nick,
I think
Trump. Hold on. Nick, jump in.
Just give me a reason to vote for you. He said so many things and acted in a way that makes it so hard for you to be able to tell anyone that you're voting for him. And some of the policies are good. You just pointed out a couple things that I agree with him on, but it makes it so hard when he can't even answer the white supremacist question with a simple yes or no.
Okay, now Kimberly, go ahead.
Yes.
I think Trump needs to learn how to become coachable. And I think that when he comes to the table, he has to have some substance. He needs to have some facts and stay off the personality, and definitely stay away from the name calling, because when him and Joe got down to name calling, that really turned a lot of people off. So stick to the substance, know your facts, and when you're going to throw a punch, make sure you throw a good punch that's a knockout, that you know exactly what you're talking about.
I want a word or phrase to describe Joe Biden tonight.
A surprise, actually, compared to what the media kind of put him up to be. So I was surprised at how well he did. I was expecting a little less out of his answer. So he did a good job.
Travis, word or phrase to describe Joe Biden tonight.
Better than expected.
Better than expected. Cheryl, word or phrase.
I would say that he was definitely more professional than Trump. And I think he's more a people person. I really do.
That's like the main thing Trump has going for him.
Jennifer.
Confident.
Jerry.
Politician.
Joe from North Carolina.
Is that good or bad?
He showed restraint and compassion.
Luke from Wisconsin.
I have to agree 100% with the politician.
Which one?
Politician.
Joe from
Is
Arizona.
that good or bad when they say politician?
Predictable.
Nick.
Nice guy, but lacking vision.
Mike.
Coherent.
Jeremy, sorry.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's probably bad.
I think leader.
Kimberly.
Attentive and rehearsed.
Katie.
and
I can't hear you.
somewhat evasive. I don't think he answered every question as asked.
Ruthie.
Humanity and integrity.
Sarah. By the way, Ruthie, you don't sound like an undecided voter. You really don't. You call Trump.
But after tonight.
How many of you guys, am I being too harsh on her? And Sarah, I'll go to you 1 second. Am I being too harsh when Ruthie says Trump's a crackhead and Biden shows humanity and compassion? Should I be challenging her whether she's really undecided or not? Am I going too far?
Sure, challenge. Yeah, challenge. Challenge everybody.
Doesn't hurt.
Yeah,
it doesn't hurt.
I could take a punch.
Okay, well, I'm not going to punch you right now. Sarah, what a place to describe Biden.
Fuck,
Sarah.
I just realized I was so focused on chasing clout. I forgot to roast XQC over the fucking Among Us drama. God damn it.
Adam isn't good with sex. He might be in 10 years, but right now you don't feel comfortable with sex. Do you agree with it?
I agree with you, sir.
You will. Someday you will. It's gotten me into a lot of trouble, Adam. It's costing me a lot of money. You understand that?
Yes, sir, I do understand.
You'll probably be there.
It's called the U.S. flag, you stupid fuck. This is the only flag that the United States federally has and recognizes. Why the fuck are you acting like a different